Here, you got a copy of these for the whole group. Got a copy of these for the whole group. I don't need to send them yet
Oh, yeah.
for Opa.
Okay, what?
They didn't put it up.
Yeah, wherever, yeah.
Okay.
January 28th, 2026 special meeting of the Ocean Highway and Port Authority is now called to order. If you would stand with me for the invocation, should qualified.
I very kindly trust, Lord, we are blessed. In this great country, now that you meet us, you give us wisdom and discernment to make decisions for the open highway. We ask you watch over our first responders, men and women, what might be. And before. That's also. I love you.
The United States. To be all make sense or and we need unity as well.
So,
Commissioner Poole,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
here,
Secretary Treasurer Hill. Here. Vice Chair Moore. Chair Nelson.
here,
You have a quorum. You.
I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome those that have come tonight to take part in this meeting. It's always good to see guests come and join. With that being said, do we have any non-agenda? Did you have any?
No.
No. Okay, so we'll move right into our current business without objection from the board. I would like to take 7A and move it to the last of the meeting. The reason I'm doing that is to try to prevent what happened last meeting where we were here so long the alarm went off. I know that's probably going to be some heavy conversation there, so I'd like to again move that to the end, and that would put us starting with 7B. Any objections? All right, matching fund agreement. So what we have is we've been presented with an agreement by the office. Correct?
This is,
Would like-
this is a draft letter that I did that's just a format. When we have grants and OPA wants to apply for grants, I took the vendor replacement letter that we did. And I worked from that and that's why there's a bunch of blanks. So this is a template for your review and we can then make sure that
Okay,
Ted and his folks are okay with that.
and then this would be after a grant is awarded, correct?
No, because I think the intent is when OPA says we're going to apply for a grant, that we have some commitment on the part of a grant that requires matching, that we have some commitment from you. We're working together. This memorializes what we're already.
No, I'm just
doing.
saying in the opening statement, it references a grant number and a grant number.
Oh, that's true. If you get
Isn't an
grants
issue
that,
till we, that's why I was asking, is this after we win?
I think that the intent is that we enter into these at the same time, essentially, that the board approves applying for a specific grant. So that's my bad, my mistake.
Okay, so the way this will work is we together apply for a grant, whether it's probably FDOT, right?
Yeah.
We select, what's that? Yeah, well, we collect, well, yeah, those are just yeah, those are a little more involved, yes. So we collectively come in here and we say, hey, these are the things we want to apply for this cycle. Do we agree? And then that's just by board consent.
Well, the applications for the grants, there's an application. And then there's an agreement that comes if there's a grant award, right?
Mhm.
So when the application comes to this board, every application before Rosanna or anybody else can submit it, comes to this board and is approved. Yes, we want to go for this grant. At that meeting, and we will have worked with you like we have been. And at that meeting, we would also have had a letter agreement from, in some format like this, from the port operator sign that says, we agree to provide the match, should you be awarded the grant.
Okay.
Some grants require us to attach a form of whatever.
For matching,
Sometimes they do,
that's for application.
sometimes.
So that would make even, better sense to have this done. So this is not a format that is right now being taken. It is a draft
Okay.
document for us to work through, but the intent is that these get approved at the same time
Mm-hmm.
as we apply for grants.
Okay. And then has it always been standard operating procedure for us to reimburse legal fees associated with grant project, even though we're matching the funds?
No. I mean, I think that that's something that has been done. I mean, it has been done, but it's not, there's nothing in our charter or in our agreement that requires that. But if I'm going to be working on grants, and I guess that's up for negotiation, if I'm working on a specific grant or
Mhm.
grant agreement, or like we did with the fender replacement, the contract with contractor,
Yeah, technically between the open and the contract.
they always,
And then we probably need to do competitive bidding for everything as well. Okay.
for sure.
Yeah, this looks reasonable. I can just have legal look at it. And next meeting we can probably approve. Is that okay?
That's perfect. Yeah. Does that sound good to the board?
Did you send this to me independently?
I don't think I did.
Okay, I
Because
just need to claw it out of this.
so this was not intended to surprise you or
Okay.
anything. If I did not send it, part of it was trying to get in to be displayed tonight
Okay,
on time on Monday. And I may have forgotten, and I apologize for that, because it's not intended to be Amy and I have talked about it, and we've talked about the concept of this, but yes,
Mhm.
this is a work that I want you all to agree to also, because we're already doing, like for the
Yeah.
fender replacement, we're already doing this.
And then what's like, and you and I can talk offline about this, but Amy's the only handling water stuff.
Okay.
To go new stuff, I'll introduce you to probably be Chris Olfers.
Okay.
He's a really good guy.
He would copy here.
Okay, sorry.
He didn't see it, but it
lot
happened
of-
Monday by noon. I think I,
10:31 Monday. Amy was.
so good, I'm glad.
There's council. We want. It's always.
Olfers, yeah, Jones Walker. So he's actually based in NOLA, but he's just been doing a lot of like a lot of busy work for me. He's been impressive, and so
Good. I'm glad we have somebody, that you like.
you can say it. Somebody else.
Yeah. No, I didn't say somebody else, but somebody you like
I'm just
working.
messing.
So good, I'm glad I sent it. I didn't
I
make
know,
that
I
mistake. I tried to.
It's my turn.
Okay. This is, real on here tonight, action it means, is that how we want to move forward with grants? At the time of application, we would have something like this that's already filled in, and ideally, Ted, signed by you. Meaning, when we out the gate with our application here, it's already agreed to. So this all would be in process because as grants come up, you find them, Rosanna finds them, commissioners find them, we start talking about it. This form, getting it blessed by board here and relay will be great, because then I can just fill in the blanks and get it out.
Yeah, I just need to think about because if we're doing this before we, like, as we apply for grant, this is.
Then it's not gonna have a grant number, you're right, it's gonna have a grant name and an
Right, but
agency.
the dollar amount, because it could be, let's say we're gonna replace all the fendering, but we only get a grant
got
for
it.
20% of it.
Yeah.
So I just need to,
Okay, well, we'll work on
let
it.
me, yeah, let me kind of roll
The
around.
idea is we don't apply and then scramble to get something together and hope for the best.
No, I get it.
Knowing we're acting in good faith, still, this will be better for all.
Okay,
I think in the past, we've done it when you sign the grant award.
Yeah.
That's why.
but I think the fear is that you get that far along and then I bail and you look really bad about that. That's why you want me committed on the front, correct? Probably.
I think that's. Once you get it back, it's legal. For our review.
Yes.
Any further?
I have a question, Chair. We talked about the two prior grants that were approved by the board, the crane, the automated gate.
Gates.
So
Security.
it was approved prior to this.
Yes, but we're gonna need that, that's the idea too, is those couple of things that are left.
So it
that
can be
we use to fill out
retroactive.
This, yeah.
Have one of these filled out once we agree. Okay. All right. Any further discussion? All right, moving on to C, RFP security. Before we go any further, I'm going to relinquish the gavel to the Vice Chair. During this, portion of the meeting. And we'll resume once we finish this. Here.
Well, I was ready for this, but. I don't know, to,
See, we follow the sunshine law. So we follow the sunshine.
so,
We're on the RFP security item 7C.
where were we last meeting? We're at the point, we decided not to, move forward with the RFP.
At the last meeting, there was a motion to postpone, but there was also an attempt to make a motion to take action and reject the bids and I noted that on that agenda, it notified the public and the vendors that it was deferred to the 28th, so I suggested waiting to make a decision until the 28th. Also, in terms of me getting together like an executive summary from each of them, I was directed to stand down and wait until this meeting. If there's a direction to that, that's it. That's where we are. So it was just postponed on the floor now.
I will entertain, any discussions on, from my fellow commissioners about, what our next steps need to be. Please, the floor is open.
Vice Chair, I would like to take that, and that's the reason that I relinquished the gap to you, because at the very onset of this, I was the commissioner that voted against this from the very start. So I apologize for putting that on you at the last moment. But this has been something that I've been working on and thinking about for quite some time. So before I make the motion of what needs to be done, in my professional opinion. This has gone on too long, with the security. We're just a few short months before we start, looking at this again. So I know we've had some issues out there, and I think that there's some things that need to be worked through with the operator. And I think that throwing this period of time where we're talking about, additional security agencies, is not the time to do this. We've got problems, with the grounds out there, not with security. I've gone back and viewed those cases. I will say that I was contacted and given information that they're trying to reduce some charges. I don't agree with that. So I'm gonna leave that to the prosecutor. He can make his own decision, what they need to do with that along with FTLE. So that being said,
Wait, just so we're clear, you're talking about charges against trespassers. Yeah.
yes, criminal charge. The first one, that happened on 12/10. FDLE has made a decision on that one that I will in no way, put my opinion out there on what needs to be done. That came from them, so I'm gonna leave it. If there's any changes, then it'll come from FDLE and Tallahassee. But I'm gonna get back to the main point of the security. Again, we're fixing to go into another cycle of the security. And I think at this time, it would be best to leave it as it is. And if later down the line, if somebody else wants to come up with an idea to change security, it's their prerogative. But I see no reason that we're spending the kind of time that we are on this subject matter. So with that being said, I'm gonna make a motion that we disregard all bids,
Reject the bids.
reject the bids that have come in. Even though there was 3 bids that we kind of isolated, Allied being one of them, 2 outsiders that we did look at. I feel like it would be best for every facet of this if we just rejected them, we moved on, and we can revisit it at a later date once we get through the limbs that we have. So I make that motion that we reject all.
May I speak?
Not before a second, because you can motion.
That we reject
Mr.
all security bids pertaining to the ones received from during the RFP. So do I have a second? Or do we have a discussion?
Is there a second?
Okay, I'll second.
Now there's discussion.
Any further discussion?
Apologies.
No, it's okay. You can ask the chair if you need the floor.
So yeah, I'm not opposed, like I'll speak freely. I'm not opposed to re-upping with Allied. I would ask the commission, is there any attempt to negotiate to maybe get their rates down to where and there was another bidder that we all agreed on was a top 3 firm. They weren't a bottom dweller in our ranking systems collectively, I believe. And so is there any room to negotiate? Because this is a cost that trickles down. And then, I didn't know if we want to talk about the incidents before this vote, but that's totally up to y'all. But so I'll just leave with my first question.
So if I'm tracking with this motion in a second, we'll effectively cancel the RFP.
Yes,
So we'll go back to the condition we were in.
Yeah.
Where we're going-
and that we are, in.
Yes,
yes, nothing has changed.
that's currently operating, in, which is the term of the contract with Allied is looking, but there's a provision in it for month to month.
That, and we're on month to month. I would suspect that outside of this RFP process, that Allied, as they did last year, provide another agreement. And it could be a multi-year agreement, so. Or we can ask them for one, a proposal if we'd like,
But that would be separate from
totally separate from,
considering here right now.
yes.
If I remember correctly, I mean, it was brought up by the operator to, really look into this, see if there was a better price. That's what the thing started, maybe over a year. But, I do remember conversations that we had here that, they did say that we'd be willing to negotiate. So I would say getting back to you, you contact the person and see what you think about.
I don't think I can do that because y'all hire them.
Yeah, I think it's our contract. So
Yes.
moving it forward, either continuing with the month to month and be negotiating. We have come to us. To contact them. Yeah. See if they want to do lock and ready to litigate.
We had and received the bids. They were at the best confused with what we saw. We know what we have with Allied. We know their service record, we know their longevity at the port. They are well versed in the do's and the don'ts. There's nothing about approaching and looking and negotiating, but that was part, correct me if I'm wrong, that was part of the motion that we suspend that your authority to negotiate with them was.
Yeah, I wasn't doing anything more, yes.
So that was part of the vote that we had the last meeting. That's why I went up after looking at this and said, there really is no reason that we're bothered. We need to set it aside. We need to move on and get things clarified and get things done. If this wants to be revisited at the approaching of their renewal, which is in August, then fine. But let's start early. Let's don't do 2 months after it's already rolled into the next year. That's been my disagreement the whole time. You do it ahead of time. That way you got as much time as you need before you get to that roll. So again, I think it's good business and it's a good motion that we do that and then we can move on. If the operator wants to have dialogue with us, look down the road, then we can sit down and talk. But to just throw it up against the wall and see what sticks is not a good.
That's not my intention. I mean, first of all, it's a 30-day out in the contract. And I'm looking at my spreadsheet here showed one of the firms that we all ranked in the top 3. Just my math shows a $38,000 a year savings. Just now, is some of that lost in detail? I don't know, but I'm just looking at the hourly rates here, which is the bread and butter of a security contract, and they are lower. So
So not necessarily, but no. Just throw it out and just do it over and work out with your boss, I don't know that. To me, it does seem a little interesting. Overall, when you're making a decision, for the security service and kind of stick with the operator. I think that as we get into discussions or how discussions may go with the operating, with the vendor agreement for operating services, this may be something that also goes there to provide those types of services that they sub it out to another company. But it just seems that's where we have this back and forth where, okay, we're not paid, what are we gonna do? It's almost like we're trying to negotiate with you, have that conversation with Ted to figure out the best path forward, but he's paying the bill. I mean, he's on the hook for whatever we decide here. So I'm just thinking, I think moving forward, we need to keep that in mind, but also maybe that's something that as we start discussing okay, so.
What are the key issues that we wanted to request to be changed in the security agreement besides the golf parks? I mean, there was the golf gates. Comment she made the last meeting.
Yeah, the security grant that we won will automate those gates that now.
Time is still involved. So is there a machine going on the golf cart?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, that's one point. I mean, it's a smaller thing, but if you look across the matrix here,
I'm just trying to think of.
yeah, like this is an example. Allied's golf cart rental is $925 a month. Wiser is $420. Securitas is $540. It's basically twice the cost. Now, those are small dollars, but where it really adds up is the hourly rate for a security officer. That's where it really sort of adds up. And then, not to merge discussions here, but, talk about being stuck with the bill. I mean, we'll talk about, I guess we're going to talk about this after this motion's settled, but I mean, right now I'm staring down the barrel of at least $8,300 because of assets that really, I don't feel like I had a lot of control of. But we can talk about that separately. And so that's why this is sort of bubbling up for me. But again, I can't tell you all what to do. I'm just here as part of the discussion.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, please.
I hear what you're saying, but here's what, after 43 years of experience working in the maritime industry and dealing with security issues, bringing in an entire security force that does not know the operation of that terminal. And these are the same folks that take care of Blunt Island, Talleyrand. They're major players in this. The last thing you want is for a new group coming in, don't know how it works. And I know, I see your facial expression, well, they do it in this area. It's not Fernandina Beach, and you just found that out by this fine that they wrote. That's minimal what they could have.
And let's just get into it then, because you're sticking out on me.
Okay. I'm saying,
Let's stay on.
You're talking about facial expressions. I mean,
The motion specific was when we wanted to move forward. You go with the RFP if you want to cancel the RFP.
okay, I yield.
So the whole point of the public procurement process is fairness. And when we are engaging in our public business, we should do some good intention as to, what we're looking at. I think we did all have the intent to work with the agreement and negotiate the best possible terms with board. And I think I think that the time is right to do that. As pointed out, it's a 30-day rolling contract. And Allied has said they are open to negotiation. We can still move forward with negotiating them without rejecting the bids. And so why can't we try to negotiate with them? And if it's not successful, then we go to the next tranche. Like, I don't see why we would throw out this whole process, because to me, it just doesn't appear fair from the outside when you put something out to bid. It doesn't really, demonstrate in seriousness with what you're doing. You put out the bid and you say, well, never mind, we're not doing that. And then the next time we have to look at this and, well, those bids are bold and we threw them out, so then we're gonna do it again. It just seems like it's going out Rosanna's time, Tammy's time. Yeah.
So then the process would be come off work. So the process would be you keep everything open, negotiate, choose one negotiate, so negotiate, say Ally. That would be it's not throwing them out, you're going to Ally. It's 25. That's right. I guess to me, that makes more sense. We're gonna negotiate with them, then don't throw them out, keep them open, and then right to do is not gonna trip away
that is an option. I mean, I guess the board would have to then rank. We picked a top three, but not a ranking of the top three. So the board would then have to rank at least those top three and say, start with this one, second this one, third that one. And then I would need the terms that we want negotiated. And just my 2 cents, it seems to me, because it was, admittedly, the bids were not, they were not exactly the same, how they put together their pricing and all of that. And from the operator's point of view, there's some savings to be had, but I don't know that they're sure about that, right? If they're comparing apples to apples, as we've said here. So it seems to me that maybe there's some questions that the operator has about at least those couple of bids, to make sure that there's the right comparison. So
It sounds like what we're asking for is, the hourly rate and the golf cart. But on the hourly rate issue, I just want to remind the board, and for your benefit, Ted, this board voted on an increase. Because the rate paid to the officers is less than the fast food establishments were offering. And so that's why we voted on the increase in contract, and Savage signed off on it at the time.
Right, and now they're asking for an increase on that,
Okay. So-
which is what yeah. And Allied's owned by a private equity firm, so just.
Right.
Again, Vice Chair, if we eliminate that, then it's easier for us to talk to Allied without having the competition of the employees between the other two, which we really don't even know. Based on what I was looking at, it was all over the screen. On what they were gonna charge, how they were figuring their time, PTO. It was just a variety, if you will. I think it would be more productive. I even mentioned to, Mr. McNair at the last meeting, well, let's just eliminate the golf cart. If that's going to be a savings, he said, I'm not saying it, if we had another security officer, which that goes into another story, and I'll discuss that as we get down toward the incidents. But I believe what you got right now is a qualified, competent group of people that are performing the tasks that are asked of them. Bare minimum, manpower. If he wants to get rid of the golf cart, I can pretty much tell you what the difference in the cost is, because Alec went out and bought that brand new. I can probably guarantee you if they bring out another vendor would not be bringing. That's probably the reason of the price. But that is a brand new, and they came right from the manufacturer to the terminal. But the status to being forced to be performed out there right now, the golf cart makes it easier for the officer. If he decides he doesn't want it, then that would be something that we as a board discuss with Al. If they want to renegotiate with him, then we ought to ask them. But to have that umbrella of those others there that, in all honesty, it was hard to really pick out what they were and were not going to do and what they were going to charge us. We know what we've got now. So that's the reason, the motion, that move on, we stay in status quo. If we want to look into it a little bit deeper as a board, we know what's there. We know what's out there. So with that being said, I would ask that we move on.
Any further discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Cole,
Yeah.
Commissioner Taylor, Vice Chair Moore, Chair Nelson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Motion carries. Our delivery should fair back to. Okay. Chair Nelson, with that,
Next time I'm gonna head to a week. All right, so with that being said, let's move on to D, RFP website redesign. Uh, I know there was a board bid tabulation that was requested. I sent my top three in. I'm going to, ask Rosanna if you would just elaborate a little bit on what you put together on that.
From the 51 proposals I submitted, it was shortened to 32. And then from that 32, we decided a short list, and the short list consists of 4 bidders. And the vetting, they were vetted accordingly. I checked the sunbiz.org to see if they're
They're
registered
to do business in Florida.
yeah, and they're US based, and they're willing to work within our budget of 8,000. So those 4 met those criteria. And so then I forwarded each of their proposals to the board, and I asked for your rankings.
Okay. I'm gonna say what I based mine on, and we had a conversation, there was a number put out there that we had allocated $8,000 for that. So, that's what we have. There's no more, so we have stayed within our budget. That's the reason that I sent my choices in that session. You have a tabulation on the, responses from the,
Yes,
Commissioner?
so I only received 3 out of the 5. And it looks like my computer's slow.
I didn't submit it.
Well, you submitted your response, but you didn't have a ranking. Commissioner Taylor, do you want to? Yeah, do you want to tell me your ranking? It's my computer's slow.
So for me, I really liked, Concourse. I know theirs was, 3 total. But first mission of the year was 7. So looking cost wise. I think it's they're gonna have, um, renewals and website, capabilities. I like the fact that they work with, they've worked in Florida, they've worked with governments, municipalities. They also are clearly working in, Florida government, websites. They've had, ADA, responsibilities, and so they were, for me, that's my top pick. My second was, Ms. Bolster, Florida has moved here before. The only, really the only concern I had was, it's almost like there's 2 companies, they're kind of merging to, her just bringing on someone else for the ADA, components. But for me, it wasn't a deal breaker, so I think, she was fine. The other one that I agree pretty well with the estimated side though was really because one, they were in Cypher, I think it was, they were in the 10 grand top, and so that was already, for me, it's kind of, given what we allocated for this.
Thank you.
okay. Mr. Moore.
I did not submit, I apologize for not submitting mine, but, I did look at it. You know, I feel the same way about Concourse. You know, they are the, you know, the local farm or a local farm. The price was, where we want the price to be. I do like the 3-year term. So that's who I would pick.
Okay. All right, on mine, bid bolster, with the representative coming and speaking with us. Also, they're sticking within the budget, that we set forth, indicating that they can work with that dollar figure and get us in. The second one that I looked at was Refetch. They were appealing as well. And then, the other one was, what is that?
Ciphers.
Cypress. They were a little over, but I think they had some good qualities to them. So that's the ones that
I don't know. The New York-based company that surprised me for Concourse. Are we allowed to give local preference?
You can't make it, you can't assign points for it, but I mean, it can be part of your decision.
Yeah, I think Biz Bolster stood out because they've been here, they've been meetings, local company, so we know they'll be accessible. I think the ADA compliance, because that's driving us, I hear what Commissioner Taylor was saying, and we need to make sure that they can incorporate that and guarantee that as part of their contract. So that's kind of material. Just kind of, I don't know. It seems expensive, but at the same time, website. So
You mean the $8,000 budget seems expensive?
for a basic website.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot, but it's really, I mean, it's really, having instead of my own website, I've never been paid, it's a lot.
Yes.
So I love this bolster, really watchers.
Okay. If my math is correct, I think that, that one pretty much got it all the way around.
You could make a motion to your options, Mr. Chair. Your options tonight are, you can do nothing, you can reject the bids. You can make a motion to pick a firm. It sounds like you have Biz Bolster. You can say, we choose Biz Bolster or top ranked firm, and ask the court, the OPA attorney to, get a contract together and communicate with.
That is, yes.
Did you have anything to contribute since you've interacted, with the bidders, and do you have any preferences after?
I do. So my rankings is Biz Bolster and then Concourse.
Yeah.
Those are my.
All right, so like I said, I let him know I was talking about business tour. It was not a deal breaker for me. It was just the way their approach, how they were talking about it. But she does great work. She gave her vote before, and she is local, so she's accessible. We know her face there. So I'll make a motion for business tour. Or
Have a second.
All in favor? Aye. right, motion carries. I appreciate that, board, because I want to see this move forward. I want to see us get this done and over with and in place before the deadline. We need to get it done. We need to get it done.
If I might, Mr. Chair, just make a suggestion to board members. If you did any types of electronic or written tabulations, notes that led to your decisions tonight, the best thing to do, although you know that what you have is public record, is gather it up and submit it to Rosina. So if there are any questions or anything like that, all of that becomes public. Or can become public. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, let's move on to C. FSTED, February 26th meeting in Tallahassee. We need to have somebody represent us there. I know that those days, I think it's the 3rd, the 4th. Yeah. It's also going to be Seaport Day. I think this is what this is all part of. I did have some people about it. They say it's going to be a good deal. So with that being said, Mr. Moore, you showed interest in going down there. I would say, any cost idea?
Yeah, I'm gonna be Tallahassee. So, there won't be any cost associated. I won't hit the travel bubble too.
So motion for Commissioner Moore to go and represent the abstaining.
So,
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, much appreciated. All right. Let's move on to 7F, port incidents, cost associated with port security breaches. And with that being said, I'm going to open it up to you if we have.
Hey, thank you. So I sent out the YouTube links. I don't know, they're long videos, but as stated in the last meeting, we are working on upgrading the lighting, replacing some stuff. I do agree there's certain parts of the terminal that do not have adequate lighting, but I've watched the entire video. You know, there's not one single thing that contributed to this. It was obviously a really disturbed individual climbed legit barbed wire and jumped 10 feet and wasn't hurt. So but at the same time, when I look back at the video, there are several instances where the individual seen in plain light and good light with a white t-shirt on. I believe the individual was on the terminal for 38 to 42 minutes. I can't remember which one it is. But the individual then climbed the gangway of the Summersile vessel, which really took it to the next level. Now, we're on the Coast Guard's radar, which is never where you want to be. We were given a notice of violation, which is $3,000. We also have to have a facility security assessment done, which almost always is done by a third party. Right now we're at about $4,200 for that and counting. I haven't seen a final draft of that yet. And then we've had probably call it $900 in video footage charges to pull the video. I mean, just to get down to brass tacks, I'm not sitting here saying that it's one person's fault, but I will say, my opinion, looking at the video, there were several times where that individual was in clear sight of the cameras. When that overnight guard, their only job is to look at those cameras. Not their only job, their primary role is to look at those cameras. That's how you see the port's locked down at night. We don't run night operations, so the gates are closed, right? In my opinion, you know, this is my opinion. There wasn't, when you look at the fisheye view of the guard shed, there wasn't a lot of monitoring the cameras. So that I get it, it's a mundane job, and you know, nothing ever happens in a sleepy port, and but things do happen, and something did happen. And so, you know, this kind of rolls up into the entire discussion about security because, you know, again, this is another thing, this is rolling down to me to pay. You know, what if the Coast Guard violation would have been $30,000, which it can be. I mean, they can go up really high, and you know, I essentially don't have a lot of control over it. I can't ask Allied for an investigation. I can't ask Allied for their internal documents. I can't ask Allied, you know, if they think they're at fault or share blame or how we can work through this. We've had two breaches, and so my fear is that I'm stuck with these costs. My fear also is I get bullied, not bullied, I get coerced into having more security officers around the clock, which again then rolls down to me. So I don't really have a clear and present ask because I can't approach Allied on my own with all this stuff and say, hey, what say you? Because they're contracted with OPA, not really. Does that make sense, or
What's your total cost out of project at this point?
we're looking at about probably $8,400 so far.
Mr. Nick, if you could give me an instance where, a security guard failed in performing their duties, I would probably be more apt to say there is some kind of monetary responsibility to that organization. But that's not the case.
In your opinion?
In my opinion,
Right.
and I also had security specialists look at that video and they said, I mean, this guy had it in. You know, when I was out there on the 19th, first thing people started saying, this guy's a meth head, he's whacked out, he's crazy. Some people act that way to accomplish what they're wanting to accomplish. That guy was not under any influence. Not in my security opinion. And watching him come down Dade Street and exactly how he proceeded to that one spot. He'd already checked that out during the day. What he was doing was seeing how far he could get without being detected. That's exactly what he was doing. And I know you've already corrected the lighting down on the finger. Like I said, I haven't had other people look at this that's got 30, 40 years in security. And they said, you know what, you just can't stop stuff like this. I mean, he climbed, he spider walked down that fence to get past that water, and then he went over the barbed wire. He also went down and hung off of the railing at the finger pier and was waving his arms, you know, like a madman. He also come back across the yard, went up to the scale at the interchange, went under the gate.
Yeah, I watched the whole video.
I'm explaining it because somebody may not.
Right.
Okay, my point being is, and nowhere did I see that there was negligence on security's part. I know people are saying, well, you're sure into a lot of security. Let me tell you something. You found out when Coast Guard got there, wasn't there when they had the meeting with the rest of us. They were not happy. I can tell you that. You had a representative there. He should have said to you, hey, they want to got happy.
I'm well aware. Yeah.
Okay, so I knew right then it was going to go south. And I'll tell you where I think it went south at. Because there was not immediate attention on the one for the 10. They watched that place like a hawk. Because it is a vital, critical infrastructure. And they watch it. TSA comes out there and sits down the street with binoculars and watches that terminal. And I'm saying that so you understand how important security is. They keep an eye on it, they watch it. You can see what happened. They went to the jail the next morning, CBP and FDLE, and interviewed this guy. He knew exactly what to tell them. He ticked them off, starting to answer their questions. He already knew how to play games. Okay. I say this, I said that to say this. We have to stay on top of the security there. We can't, no matter what deficiencies are at that terminal, they gotta be overcome. I know we're working on grants to get lighting, but I fought lighting there for 11, almost 12 years. It's a problem. No doubt it's a problem. Look at the first video of 1210. You can't even see the policemen until the other patrol units get there and put their headlights out there. It's not good. That's an easy fix because the ballast or something in that point light is not functioning properly. We can fix that. So I say to you, you want to single in on the security agency. I've never heard that before. Never. If there's some way that you can prove that they were just totally neglecting their duties, I think you probably wouldn't have to push too hard to get your money back. But I don't see it.
Okay.
And that's my opinion.
Mhm.
That's one man, but a man that spent 43 years in the business. So with that being said, I understand your dilemma. You don't want to be charged for things, but maybe we should address those ahead. You know, see something, say something. That guy had come by there during the daytime. He would have never known where to take that bicycle that he took over beside that shrimp house and dumped it off. I understand it's still there. Can you verify that? Is it still there?
It's not,
The bike, the guy drove up.
I don't,
I think it's still there. At least the last word I got yesterday was it was still there. So I would say at this point, if you ask that a board member talk to Allied about those charges, have you notified them, or did anybody get word to them that that's the intent?
again, like, I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble a different way if I approach Allied without OPA's blessing. Because they're not contracted to me. I work with them every day. It's kind of a weird arrangement, honestly.
Well, I saw your email where you spelled it out, what also you're even charged for I get the chain or the additional wire or.
I'm not charging anybody or anything.
Well, the cost was in there,
Mm,
you might want to look at that.
that's not part of the 8,300. I'm looking at in detail here.
But hey, up front, it's been like that for years, so. You got an FSO and an AFSO. Did they challenge Coast Guard? Just because they find you doesn't mean right. Did you say, hey, this has been this way for the last 15 years and we have a problem? Until 1210, when those three were abundant. I mean, did anybody from the terminal staff talk to Coast Guard about this?
We talked, they did talk to Coast Guard. We just thought, to be honest, they sort of gave us the talking to that this is a slap on the hand. The fear was challenge Coast Guard and to say, no, I think you're wrong.
I'm saying about the issue that they came with about the gap under that gate that's been there for 12, 15.
You talking about the interchange?
Yeah,
That's fixed. It's fixed.
I understand.
Right.
But did anybody bring that to attention that that gate's been like that for 12, 15 years? You have to give them constructive criticism back. When I was there on the 18th or the 19th, nobody was saying anything. They just let them go off. They should have said, hey, wait a minute. You gotta give me a specific here because there was not a specific mention in that meeting. I'm giving you my feedback because I was standing. I met with you that morning.
Mhm.
Uh, didn't leave until everything was calmed down and everybody was back to normal. But CBP knew that that gate was like that. Rode by it every day. I'm just saying, sometimes you got to defend yourself and go say, hey, wait a minute, this has been like this for years. It just didn't happen. And you can't control what three people are gonna do when they walk by. You can watch the video and see. Now, what I was shocked about is when I went back and reviewed it, that those three people went into warehouse number 2. They actually opened the door and went in. That's a whole new different ballgame, and nobody picked up. Nobody said anything about it. So,
I've got,
I,
I've got a couple of concerns. You know, obviously, you know, breaching the perimeter is a major concern. But he was also on the floor for over a half hour. Nobody saw him, nobody did anything, nobody took any action. Anytime you have a security incident like this or any security incident, there needs to be comprehensive after action report, investigation, internal about what happened, what did we do wrong. You know, just because something's been away for 15 years and nothing's happened, you know, hey, that's good. We were lucky. Nothing happened for 15 years, but something's happened now. We got lucky for 15 years. We got unlucky one long night. Now that that weakness has been identified, we need to take definitive actions. And I think a lot of actions are being taken, you know, to not to ensure that, but look at the overall security of the port. You know, if that means that we need additional security guards at night, then that's what we need. If it means that we need to upgrade the lighting, then that's what we need to do. We can't just say, you know, it's been done this way for 15 years and you got away with it, so we'll probably be away with it for 15 more.
So, you said that you've, patched the bottom part of the fence. What other actions have been taken since the incident?
New barbed wire, we're, replacing lighting, again, that's all at our costs. I'm not, you know, I mean, I know I'm gonna eat those costs. I'm asking, you know, is there? It just sounds like we can just end this, because it sounds like no one's wants to go approach Allied about if they had any fault in this. And if you don't, that's fine. We can,
I think we want to prepare the root cause and basis. So we talked about that last week, they need to tell us.
yeah, I mean, we're doing a facility security assessment, which has to be given to the Coast Guard, right? Like, that's from us, because we are the ones that were fined by Coast Guard. We have to give them that. That is in progress. What I'm saying is, like, I just to put it out there, what I saw was a security officer not monitoring video. And I saw several instances where a deranged person was right in front of a camera with more than adequate light. Right? I'm not blaming a person, but there's 38 minutes. And so that's the point of bringing this up. Say that again.
System dependent on one.
At night, at night, the perimeter is locked down.
and even during the daytime, the main thing.
Is that like standard for like critical infrastructure reports?
No,
I agree with Commissioner Hall. It's not.
So what do they do? Do they have like technological solutions, additional personnel, what?
it depends on the size of the port. That's all of it. We need to look at it. Like I said, anytime there's an incident, you know, large incident for us like this, or even smaller security. We need to look at the areas that we failed in. And if that means that the contract is written poorly, then we need to change the contract. If that means we need another security guard, then we need another security. If that means there has to be lighting upgrades, you know. It's like, you know, to use the onion analogy. You know, you peel back a layer of the onion, you discover other layers, you know, and there very rarely is one root cause. It's usually cascading number of causes. Some of them are expensive to fix. They just are. You know, how long has it been since the security system, the camera system was evaluated for overlapping coverage and quality of the cameras? You know, a lot of the cameras now are saying that you know, this is the way we should go, but a lot of not actual monitoring, but you know, they will identify something occurring from the ordinary, and they will alert the officer. You know, they will bring the block around, you know, what the AI of the system has identified as out of the ordinary. And it will flag person monitoring the system. Hey, we'll take a look at it. What do you think? I can almost guarantee you don't have a camera system. Those things are expensive.
Yep.
You know, to the operators, benefit and defense, they do have a top-notch camera guy from Secure Base out of Jacksonville. This guy is law enforcement background, heavy duty. He's constantly making suggestions. I think you need to move this camera to this zone. I think you need to put a PTZ over here. I mean, they got 42, actually 43, one of them's down right now, but 42 cameras that are constantly recording everything on that terminal. Now, I'm speaking from experience because I've done it. During the pandemic, when there was some shortages with security officers, I went out, and let me tell you something, that's no place to be at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll tell you that. Okay. It's tough job. All they do is sit there. Okay, then go try it. I'll promise you it'll change your mind. Because watching all those cameras in about 30 minutes, you're gonna be a raving lunatic. I can promise you, because you can stay focused on something like that. Walk into an emergency room and look over there in the corner, and the security officer's either doing a crossword puzzle or he's on his cell phone. Been in back, the deputy sheriff sitting there on their laptops. You know why? Because they get sick and tired of looking at people coming through the door. It works that way. If you want to really up your game, then you're gonna have to change the number of people you have at night, so that you can have about a 45-minute to an hour and a half looking at the cameras, and then going out and performing patrols around the perimeter of the terminal to change up for them people. Humans weren't made that way. They're not made to sit there and just gaze. They have to get up and move. And we have a strict policy. It was there when I was there, and it's still there. Do not go outside of that office. They're unarmed. There's people out there that who knows what they do. We don't want them walking around. Now, if they're in that golf cart on the inside of that restricted area, then that's fine, but not out on the public street. So, I agree that you won't have to. What do you want?
You know, ideally, the internal hotline after actions investigation be conducted by the facility security, FSL. You know, I certainly would be in favor of that. You know, understanding their what. No matter what specific reasons you have. It's gonna be tough. We got one for 15 years. Now we're not. Now we've got a light shining on us from the coast. I think rightfully so. There are no, I don't think there are any low cost quick fixes to this problem. That's just my layman's assessment. What probably we need here. And any sort of internal investigation should come from the FSA, unless you're going to lose it. But a comprehensive look at the entire pool. There's a lot of that, specific to this incident. How, what was the cast, what was the chain of events? How did it happen? Why did it happen? Was it really just a meth head? Was it part of an organized attempt to evaluate the security of the port for future action down the road?
I can say this, I won't mention their name because they're still active in law enforcement, but the two guys that I had give me their professional analysis of it. The guy was a scout. So I would say whatever that means to you, I would up my ante because we're 5 nautical miles.
Up in the ante means more money and it's not in the budget. I mean, that's the tough.
But that's a part of that business. I mean, you can sit there and try to make it work with one, but if it happens again, what are you gonna say? What are you gonna tell the Coast Guard if it happens again? I mean, there was times that I had to put 1 and 2 cars during the day because the amount of traffic flow in and out of those gates, we could control it. That's a border. You are responsible to control. Without that, if I'm he can shift.
No. I mean, we, that's a common agreement, but technically it's not an operating agreement. We'll probably get to that.
Well, obviously, and I don't want to go down that rabbit trail, then again, that needs to be noted and negotiated. And hopefully we can come to that and then we see that here just a minute. Any further discussion on this security incident? I'm gonna move.
If with his scout, what actions are gonna be taken to prevent it from happening?
Personally, I think his former organization is going to be more in tune to that. I know Coach was gonna be because I think last week and they were there every day. When they start showing up every day from such a Jacksonville, they see something too. Okay, and they're trying to do that. We just have to pay attention to it. And I'm not faulting the operator because, you're trying to do with what you have, but in this case, we live in a different environment. Don't live in the same environment that I had to face. You're facing a whole different ball game. It's different. And if you talk to anybody in law enforcement, they're going to tell you it's a different ball game. They're not playing by the same rules. When you got 3 that just show up at 1:30 in the morning, roll under your gate, that's not normal. That's not normal at all. So with that being said,
That should direct the security folks to work with the operator to form a root cause analysis and to identify next steps beyond that Coast Guard clearing process for preventing sleepiness, boredom, human error. And they should, they're going to supervise security, whether or not it's boring. And particularly boring, but they're business to provide that security. And so it sounds to me like there's a breakdown of communication, maybe a little interest in your inner workings with security for whatever reason. Because you're coming to us asking for us to come home and it's a payment. But what I see is that there's a breakdown in a good working relationship. And that's not what we need. Like what we need is have a working relationship. You do pay the costs and you do work with them every day. We do manage the facility. So you need to all come together to be sure that the next step happens sooner than later. And if that's not happening, figure out how to make it happen.
Okay,
So if we need to back you up and direct them to work with you, we can do that. If that's a fair ask, considering you're the citizen.
Agree. I agree. I said before, it should be led via FSA. You know, doing that root cause analysis, peeling back the layer, finding out exactly why it happened, and making real suggestions that we need that.
Is that something you need us to do? To direct them to work with you?
it's unclear, like, I just don't wanna overstep, that's why I haven't done it.
No, I mean, you're responsible to give us security reports if there's breach, right? Like that's an outreach. So it contemplates working with them in real time. And so you need to come to us for direction. Now, if you're trying to get some sort of reimbursement contract, that sounds like something different. But in order to respond to the security issue, you shouldn't, I mean, if you feel like you need that direction, I think we should get consensus for that.
Okay, I'm sure one of my guys has it, but just like the area manager, whoever that will be. Or the local man, like, I don't know who I would talk to.
If it would please the board, or if you want to request another commissioner to do it, I will call the GM for Allied to have a meeting with the FSO, which is Warren Roski, and the AFSO, which is Brand Pike. We will have a joint meeting, and hear both sides, and then report back. But I understand you're already doing the facility security assessment, and you're using Nick Floor. That guy's the best there is. There's nobody better than he. I heard his name mentioned last week. If that's what you got doing, you can rest assured that what you get's gonna be 100% factual. He does not pick bone. If he finds something, he's gonna tell you.
Okay.
So do you want to wait until he comes with his report and then we come together?
Well, let me get with the Travis and FSO tomorrow.
Okay, because I can set that meeting up,
Mm-hmm,
and we can meet right there at the security. That way it's transparent, it's in the open, and then the report will come back to the full board.
okay,
You know, like, a lot of, you talk about the findings on the postcard and the findings that ultimately rolled out from the postcard, certainly they're concerned about the incident, but what they want to see are, proactive steps being taken to address.
yeah, and they've been back since, and they've met with the FSO and Travis and seen some of the improvements and updates we've done, and I haven't talked to them, but they say like things are improving as far as the overall vibe, if you will.
Any further discussion? All right, let's move on to G, the Shrimp Festival. We have it coming up. So I take it this is all part of the parking
Yeah.
process, so.
I have presented that on the agenda. We I don't say we got blindsided because we did, Fern Fest happens, but we kind of were slow to the process of what we're gonna do with the parking last year.
When is the Shrimp Festival?
It's in- So I just wanted to start the process so that if we're going to do that again, we have a plan moving forward. And Commissioner Hurley did a great job last year, but the last minute making it happen. So maybe on that, but I wanted more structure. I'd like to see the more structured process so that we can, make sure that other agency or other charitable organizations have the opportunity to, I would say, compete, but participate in the process and perhaps derive a little bit of revenue. As we talk about revenue for the port, not for the port, for the setup. So I just wanted to get that into, to all the commissioners' minds and we can get their thoughts, on how we should move forward. That's a process that we should, engage in to try to make sure that, at the 11th hour, Commissioner Bill is not, pulling her hair out to get a charity to come in and run our part.
Well, we don't have any obligation to run parking, so what we did was just rope it off.
Mhm.
And the security guards don't actually have capacity to enforce it, so some people did park there. And as we go this year, some of the neighbors were actually a little ticked because they used to use our property for kids and family and friends. And the school was using it for parking. Around the city, you'll see parking areas that are not normally parking areas. And the city basically allows that if it's a nonprofit. If it's a private entity using it for parking, that's where they want you to get a permit.
Mhm.
And they have a whole process, but at least last year, that's the way it was handled, everything having changed, with parking being such a hot issue. They may have adopted a new permitting process for parking. So if that's something that you want to, lead or go after, feel free to take it, like the parking queen. But I thought it was great for the school.
Yeah.
They were really good at administering it. Teachers are very good at motivating other teachers to volunteer, and they are so strapped for the funds for their programs in the public schools that they're willing to work all day for very small or free, frankly. And they actually didn't raise very much, and so I actually gave them a donation because I wanted to help the school and I saw her they were working. But this year there might be more, if they advertise in advance, they might have a little more success. My thought on it just preliminarily is to open it up to the prior school just because they worked so hard last year. Although Dara Ronnie is no longer at that school. And then if they are not interested, then to take it to, the next elementary school. But open other schools getting a shot if you think that's, the spirit of yours.
I think we should come up with a process so that the last whomever we select, to run that parking concession, call it concession. Gives them time to advertise, which will maximize the amount, or increase the amount of parking that might happen. And if you would like, not you, but if the board would like, I will take steps to contact the city and see if there's a permitting process, if we did want to, engage in some revenue sharing. But perhaps it is a situation that's best handled, just by, local charity and make it 100% of the proceeds.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it wasn't a donation that would have made any dent in our budget. I think it was like $200, and they worked all weekend. So.
And I'm sure you have really good talking.
I think most of the people who took advantage of it were people who were like friends and family of the board.
All right, any further discussion? So any objection to Mr. Moore, checking in, looking in on that for the board? All right.
Good luck.
All right, with that being said, let's move back to 7A and finish this up. Renegotiation operating agreement.
Yeah.
Tammy, would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. So we're aware that it just as listed on the agenda, we got the court order from the court that ruled against OPA and found that OPA owes taxes for 22 and 23. That was one court order. And then also owes taxes for 21 and 24. And so we filed an appeal, a notice of appeal, because that's due within 30 days. The court order, I think, was like December 15th or something. So we filed that already, and that's pending. And so now we have to decide Well, we are waiting just as, this is, an issue with regard to paying the fees, the attorney's fees, because there are my fees, which I'm kind of second chair and just monitoring for the board. But the Gunster Law Firm is representing and defending, or did at the trial court level and is now moving us into and through the appellate court. And so they have to get paid. So I today got an email from Amy Polson that said she was gonna do an very simple letter that says, yes, we promise to pay the fees for the appeal based on the indemnity and the bond indenture documents. But they're going to put in their reservation of rights. So for all intents and purposes, they'll be paying the fees for the appeal. The final judgment and then the effect on the pilot payment agreement. I'm happy to move any documents between the city and OPA, but on the pilot payment agreement, I did send to the city attorney the final court order. And said that, you know, I'm not the one that would be handling this, but if there's an effect on the pilot agreement, we'll have another attorney that'll deal with that. But this FYI, this is out there. And so since we're not paying any taxes yet, because this is on appeal, so there's a stay of us making any payments on taxes, then I'm sure we'll just continue business as usual. With all the parties being advised with regard to the pilot payment. And then the next thing is as we discussed with the last one, is the operating agreement. And then with the property appraisal press release that I don't know if we all had a chance to review, did you get a copy of that in email? Rodina sent that out, I think, just today.
Yeah.
And I was a little surprised at the end of the press release, the property appraiser was very specific about the operating agreement is the problem. So that's out there. But we talked about at the last meeting, and really Vice Chair Moore kicked it off with the operating agreement does say that a year before the end of the first term, which is 2027, the end of the initial term, there are obviously renewal terms that if OPA wants to issue an RFP and see if they, I have not analyzed or provided my opinion as to what I think that means. So then, sure, go ahead and propose it. Doing an RFP and soliciting our companies to come in here and operate the port. Keep in mind, if OPA decided to do that at any point in the contract or even renewal terms, it seems to me there is a right of first refusal that this current operator has. So if there is another company that has some interest, they would have the ability to have a right of first refusal and step in line and negotiate with OPA first.
Right.
So that's the status. But here we have the operating agreement, and I mean, we said a lot of things at the last meeting. I don't want to put that on the spot, but I think we kind of need to know what the operator. I can start going through Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I'm not line by line, but just by concept, what we would need to address potentially to, I guess, satisfy the property appraiser. So I don't know how you want to go.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So Timmy, how many would be also that relates to the agreement and their willingness at all, or is that more?
I mean, yeah, and she just defaults to the same as what we've talked about before, is the operating agreement already allows for OPA commissioners to have access to the, books and reports and all of that. And what else is there that we would do? And so the ball's kind of back in our court. And anyway,
So then, but to your point, you kind of establish concepts of court order and what the court ruled. You go through and, list out all those issues, and tackle them one chunk at a time. Is the operator going to be willing to say, you know what, yes, let's do this and let's address these issues so we can just right in, stop that bleeding and get us to a point in line with with what the primary appraiser is saying, what the court's position is saying.
Mhm.
And I don't just, I think that to me, that seems like the smart thing to do. Do the right now, for insurance, really there, keep, continue on, you tolerate, and our concern is just this amendment. The appeal, sorry. With the appeal, we're gonna be here, give us 2 years, just like the golf range stage was 2 years, and that's another 600,000 a year, so
Mhm.
the 1.2 million, it's gonna be owed, so I think it's critical to get moving on this, as soon as possible.
Yeah, that was my point here. In trying to take this off, there is a judgment right now.
Mhm.
You're going to appeal. Or
Yeah.
we are the party,
Right.
named party in it. We are right now deciding to appeal it. But how do we stop the bleeding? Potential bleeding going forward? How do we stop? Potentially 2 more years of pregnant taxes.
We have to,
The easiest way, and I think the way that's directly pointed out in the judge's decision, and directly pointed out in the property appraiser's public statement, is it's the operating. It's the operating agreement, it's the operating. So, okay,
Sorry. But is there a definitive list of actions you can take with the operating agreement that would meet the criteria of, right, so this is,
we're shooting in the dark,
Right.
right? You know,
yeah, this is just, just internal control. There is no definitive, it's the totality, right? So even, there's no here exact 3 steps you need to take to change the operating agreement that will meet the criteria. Right, so without, with completely changing the relationship, it can essentially, I don't know, I mean, again, without some, kind of, there may be some definitive, what's their radical so far, remove the operating agreement that they're just completely, change completely the operation of the court, maybe then, right? But even that, is not necessarily true. Right?
no, we don't know. We have no idea what the property appraiser is looking for. I know that, Commissioner Hill sent me the prior operating agreement from 1990 with its amendments. With
Which
kinder.
you're providing.
Yeah, okay, and that's helpful. I mean, the language is different a little bit, but ultimately the relationship was the same. And we're exempt at that point. But we're in this pickle and hoping the appellate court will agree with us in terms of the exemption issue, that we are an exempt entity. But, they're gonna look at what the lower court did too. They're not gonna get into the operating agreement anew and say, no, this is okay, that our court was wrong. They have to do it based on error. And there's a lot of deference given to the trial court. So,
So if you go to page 25 of the order, it's where Judge Aho starts
she talks about it.
discussing specific aspects of the object, which I don't think, with respect that to her as a judge, but in her clerks. I disagree respectfully with the interpretation of some of the language. So, for example, in the, let's see what page we're on. I think it's page 25 where she says the exclusive use, the operating agreement, or exclusive use of the facilities. So page 24 actually. The last sentence of that in that paragraph of the last clause says the Port Authority is not to engage another entity to provide such services in the port. So in contract law, when you provide exclusivity, you can either give a contractor a minimum, you can give them exclusivity. So if you say, we'll pay you a minimum of, we'll pay you a minimum of $200,000 a year to do this, or we'll give you the exclusive right to do it and you can keep whatever you make. You either do one or the other, otherwise you could just do nothing. You could pay them nothing. So the contract will be worthless without either a minimum payment for their services or an exclusive right to perform. And so just fundamentally, I disagree with like every time she focuses on the word exclusive. From a contract valuation perspective, that's required in order for the contract to have a financial value. And if you're gonna take a contract to the bank and go into bonding on it, you have to have something in there that's a firm commitment to receive money. Right?
Mhm.
So if you could go out and hire another cargo operator, you have Savage, and then you just go and hire another. It's not exclusive, and you can have 10 guys out there, and they're all just duking it out, try to take business every day. They may make nothing. Right? So, and anyway, that's one thing that we could clarify in an MOU or an amendment to say that exclusivity does not operate to exclude OPA's access to the facilities, records, or to participate in the business or other oversight decisions that we might otherwise have under the agreement. The exclusive language is only to clarify, this, you know,
Well, in the
Yeah.
financial market, but this agreement has some value.
well, that they have, that we will not procure another company to perform the same services at the port. That's, so if it's new business, we could. If it's not cargo handling, we absolutely could. But if it's cargo handling, they are our exclusive partner for that. And then she also says, I'm just gonna keep going, is that okay? Okay, she also says that, you know, we don't have physical access to facilities, and that was based on testimony provided. In the depositions. And that's where, you know, I think we should come to the table with Relay, and I mean, we just need to articulate on paper that that's something the case, that we do have access, we are.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Visit the facilities,
Don't know.
it's practical, like it's just a practical thing that is in reality occurring, but it's not in the. So I think we need to just say clearly that we do have access to the facilities, that we have, you know, the contract with the security company. That we are interacting with the customs facility, with FDOT, that we are the primary point of contact, and we all know this is true. But it's not in the operating agreement that we are the primary point of contact, all of the agencies that either give us grants or they give us security services, and that's the way we're exerting control. So that's something in writing. And then finally, and this may be a bit of a sticking point here, and for the conduit bond, but I've always said, and it's clear as day in our charter, that OPA is required to place the revenues from they're derived from the public assets into an account bearing OPA's name. And that's in our charter, which I can give you the section. But we only have the authority that the legislature grants us. We don't have plenary authority to do things in the best interest, you know, of the county, and all the powers that are in the best interest of the county to take forward. We don't. We only have that are in our charter.
What does the charter say exactly? What does it say about all revenues must flow?
What page? I have it up there.
Oh, the charter? You have to scroll a little bit and see. There, come on.
So it's section 4.
Okay, it's okay. There you go.
I think the real first question is the board like renegotiate, amend?
I'm here to listen. I'm here to listen. I'm here without counsel. I'm here to listen. Like I'm in good faith to hear.
And you know, that's what we want to do too. We want to structure the new operating agreement with the amended operating way that clarifies the relationship and also make sure that it's obvious that we have control over what's going on.
Right, but this operating agreement, I just remind you, is the crux of our existence,
Right.
right? And it's tied to bonds as well. So like, again, I'm here to listen and to take back my camp, like what exactly the asks are. Like, what, I get it, open up the operating agreement, but like, what exactly are you asking?
So that's one of the other stuff. It's viewed from the other side, and let's say a lease agreement where the money is flowing directly into the operator, and we are then getting paid a portion. Versus a vendor contract for services that we are bringing you guys in as a vendor to operate, and then we're paying you those services. So I think that's maybe a similar term, it's, going from what they're perceived to be a lease agreement to a vendor contract of services. And I don't know what we remove and we take out, but I feel like and maybe this is what Commissioner Hill was getting to with the accounts, but if there's an account bearing our name, and that's where this revenue is flowing into, that may be something that helps. I don't know. But again, that's kind of a typical lease agreement where we're getting paid. You're paying essentially a lease. We have no idea of the financials and all of that versus a vendor contract where money's coming into us and we're paying you for these services.
Well, I think the important one for them, I mean, obviously, if we have a big decision, then obviously they're gonna have to come from some kind of port carrier. Or maybe not, obviously, maybe not, obviously. Obviously, the obvious, I could say the obvious point is the OHPA does not have the funds to pay property, $600,000 for property tax a year.
Yeah,
The
that's,
question is, where's that gonna come? Well, where's that gonna come from?
it makes
But-
two of us.
But I think, the first step is, does the operator want to renegotiate or reorganize the operating agreement to avoid property taxes? Because that's what we're saying is, we're willing to take the step to go back to the status that we had before, where we would not have to pay property taxes. That means changing the agreement in some way. Or would operator rather maintain the status quo, but then we have to pay property taxes, and those property taxes more than likely are gonna come from Port Terry. I mean, that's the reality of the situation out there. There's nowhere else we're gonna get this money. And I think that's the fundamental, what we're talking about here is we want the operators to meet the criteria to be tax exempt for the port fund.
But we don't really know exactly what that is.
No, exactly.
That's
What put into it, right? Look, well,
Breeze. Mm-hmm.
Gulf Breeze. What their agreement did basically looks like now I just need to talk about, two different entities and two different locations. It's not gonna be apples to apples. But, we can take instruction from what is contained in that agreement and kind of how it's structured financially and access law.
How is it?
Said, yes, this is an agreement that ensures that the special district impact.
Right, it just happens to be the latest, Florida Supreme Court ruled in that case that was a tax exempt golf course. In the Panhandle, there's a company, private company that's operating a municipal golf course. And the property appraiser taxed them and said denied their tax exemption based upon the agreement and the relationship with that contractor. So looking at that's not a bad idea. I hadn't done that yet, but it was certainly on my list as something that we could.
What about the city agreement with city force?
So the city agreements are management agreements, and it's a total flip almost. I mean, it is all revenues are coming through OPA accounts. And the city's got all that staff. So there was accounting and all of that on the part of the private contractors that were managing. They received a management fee and then they could get incentive fees for a certain amount of business that they, or income that they bring in. Yeah, it's totally different. Excuse me? We just need, we need. We need a few more, yeah. It would be different. It would be OPA managing it. I don't think we need to go that far.
But it's clear when you remove the lot now. Judge Otto is really sure.
Right, we're stuck with it.
That the appellate court rule in our favor, but. My only dealings are at the federal level.
And if the appellate court,
Not inclined very often to.
Mhm.
If you're. It doesn't mean doesn't mean they've never.
Oh, they do it, yeah, but
They're just not inclined. It's a pretty high bar to get the appellate court to overrule.
right, like I said, you're not getting new judges' eyes on your agreement coming up with a different opinion. That would be great, but that's not how. They have very specific parameters that they have to abide by when reviewing an appeal. And it doesn't mean that they're not overturned. But I mean, I think that we have a fair chance at the appeal. It's not the same chance we thought at the trial court. We thought we had a very good argument for tax exemption, so.
But, to avoid potential future property tax liabilities, we need to, as best we can, get the judge's decision and.
And the agreement.
Existing agreements that the Supreme Court, state Supreme Court has ruled do meet that.
Mhm.
That bar. And then take a look at those and compare it to our operating agreement and come up with something that either amended or completely new that to our best opinion meets those those hurdles.
I mean, ultimately, I think what our goal is not what a court's gonna think about our agreement, but the property appraisers. That's the goal. Because these are very, I mean, especially these, I think they're very subjective decisions. Judge Aho has a good reputation. I think she's a good judge and I respect her. But they're very fact specific. And she had what she had, and we think that she got it wrong, but that doesn't mean that given the exact same case, another judge, another trial judge would have ruled differently. You don't know. We don't want to test that again. We want to make sure that our Nassau County property appraiser and their successors are going to find the relationship that's tax exempt and what we're doing.
Yeah, I know in the past there have been problems with the commissioners accessing the 14,
Mr. Bergucci made it difficult. I don't mind saying it.
I invite everyone to come to the
Yeah.
board.
And that's the thing,
Yeah.
we're stuck with that.
We tried to get potential bidders that would come and take a look at Tundra and
No,
county court.
Ended up in the paper, probably saw it, used it in his case.
which was the crux. That was the crux of the whole thing. According to the deposition.
Last meeting. No, I think everything's been great. It's just been great. We had the major boosters. With that, yeah, there are a few issues that
Okay.
became important. And
And they were really,
Since 2018, yeah, the operator said, these aren't public records, it's a private business, and no, you don't have access to the board, it's our business. So, that was a problem,
And to confirm that wasn't before,
yes.
yeah.
and it was a battle,
Okay.
so.
And now we're together.
So Commissioner Moore, is it fair to say that you have plans to make a motion to enact section 1.2 in the current operating agreement when such time arises?
Well, the first thing is to see if the board of members is willing to negotiate. That's that's key, but, I think the decision, probably Fraser's statement, has made it pretty clear what their thinking is. Now, will the appellate court feel that way? Maybe, maybe not. Will the state Supreme Court, if it goes that far? Maybe, maybe not. Question is, are you going to roll the dice, a $600,000 bill, for the next 2+?
That's not my decision alone to make, but yeah, I mean, it's just to not, it's really important for me to hear from each of y'all and to hear the first, the first volley. I'm here to listen, open mind, and I'll take back whatever, specifics y'all recommend in my camp, and we'll go from there.
I mean, I believe section not involved in the ethics, I believe one does give up the ability, of course. Again, you're talking about words and there are disagreements. If prior to or during a period of 1 year following the expiration of the term, of the operating agreement, I believe that we're in a period prior to 1 year.
Prior to or during a period of 1 year, tongue twister.
Yeah.
Following, but
It's not easy to understand, but you read it one way or you can read the other way.
following the expiration.
Right, it does say that. The easy button will we're not need to negotiate in good faith. We want to be in good faith too. We're not looking to take your court. You just don't the other commissioners are either. I'm not, we're not looking to take all your revenue or anything. We need to try to, within the information we have, in the court's decision, within the court appraiser's statement, try to find something in the operating agreement, the new agreement, that what we think gets us to that point to avoid continuing liability at $600,000 a year, or you can roll the dice and hope the appellate court or the state Supreme Court rules in our favor. But that's $600,000 a game.
So they're like maybe 5 things or 3 things, specifics. I could take that.
Well, Ted, you're gonna run over some of the things that you think should potentially should be included or changed.
So, well, it's basically what Commissioner Hill and I have discussed this several times. So it's basically what she said. There probably has to be a little bit more control or partnership with revenue. So if that means that OPA has to have be a joint account holder with the operator, I'm trying to think of something short of just saying turn the whole thing and OPA takes care of it all and we have 5 more staff people. If we were to keep the same staff levels, there'd be some control over revenues, meaning there's bank accounts that are there. Not that, again, in the agreement, that's what revenue, I don't think is as important as there being the control, or us having access to.
Yeah,
So-
all the revenue, just speaking off the top of it, all the revenue flows into OPA, and then we distribute it based on
If it all flows through and the operator was like at second base to get the revenues, we would need more, we would need to change our status.
That's what
There's
we-
no way we can,
like, a manager, yeah.
Yeah. that would be, right. Right. So I'm trying to think of if we're gonna do some, hybrid of that, where we're not changing anything, the operator still has the accounts, but perhaps OPA has their name on it, or whatever, or there are several accounts where OPA's got their, I mean, that was the number one thing, is how the,
Is that what you do to operate that? Does the bond trustee receive all your court revenues?
Does the bond trustee receive all of our revenues?
So when the OHPA had all revenues before were put into bond trustee. And then it cascaded down 5 different levels. Right? The first was the operating expenses before, second was this, the third was this.
Yeah,
Fifth was-
honestly, I'm not sure. I'll
fifth
ask.
was paid with silver bonds. So obviously the bond, interest expenses.
they got paid first.
Yeah, well, they were third. Obviously, you had, well, second, the first was the four operating expenses, right? It had to be paid first. The second, and so they cascaded down with the fifth level, they, split it 50 between, but we're never gonna split that.
Got it.
We never got to figure out the fifth one.
Gotcha.
But
So that,
so I'd be curious because, bond, there is bond trustee involved. We get the bank service from the trustee. So there are revenues going, some portion of your revenue going to your bond trustee.
Sure, yeah, I just don't know what
Yeah,
I'll figure that out.
but that's, again, that was the whole, thing, not, and obviously the part we're in OHP and Maine. Right, so that was OHP account involved, to be distributed that way.
so that's not completely foreign concept then.
So David, would the best course of action be to make a motion to ask the court operator to negotiations with up to your involvement or then?
I mean, I feel like you're, like, I just need, like, I don't have the authority, so like, having me is it's a paper tiger, right? Like, I run the company, I don't own the company. So like, it's,
So I think that, but they're only talking about theirs, so it's like, I take this in chunks, right? So what, a motion that they're making would be to find out what all 5 of the board members want to do moving forward. That's what this.
oh,
motion is.
okay, I'm sorry.
It's not, no, it's fine. It's fine. That's a fair.
I thought it was a motion to ask me a question, I was.
No, it's a motion to say, this is what we want to do. It's not just want though.
Got it, my apologies, my
Need to
apologies.
do to try to avoid tax liability in the future.
Yeah, I got it.
And so, yes,
Forgive
that's the appropriate thing, and then I'll give you a suggestion about what I think might be the next steps.
Okay. I make a motion that we, contact the, formal contact the operator to see if they would be in line with the court's decision and to avoid any, to try to avoid future liability. That we enter into negotiation to either rewrite or amend the current copy. Sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair.
So I think the next step, I spoke about it, Commissioner Hill and I had a good conversation today. And, there are a lot of people that are working on, trying to work on this matter to bring this to a conclusion. And, so, sure, first suggestion I agree wholeheartedly is that rather than just start digging into the language of the agreement, is to do a letter of intent. And, one of the things where we both sign this letter saying, these are the terms that we wish to change in this case general. And then we can get into the actual language. Because, I mean, that takes away, if you're working on an agreement that is 30 pages plus, right? You start getting into the lines and you bog down, and if we agree on general concepts or don't agree, whatever, however that's gonna happen, so.
But for y'all to agree on general concepts on what you want changed, you need to do it during a meeting because you don't meet otherwise.
Right.
Right. So.
Right.
Are we
So
at the point of,
I think the next step, we want to keep this meeting, is at the next meeting, I can draft, and make sure you get a copy. And that gives us like a week, like just putting together just some standard stuff. I can say section so and so of the agreement should be amended to, provide this. And, I can attach to that letter of intent some of the language from the court order, to make it clear, but
okay,
that
But-
would be my suggestion, because since you said you have to back, and I would think that our drafting something first
Mhm.
for you and people to react to in terms of a letter of intent. These are the provisions of the agreement we want to address, we think need to be addressed based on the court order. That will give us something to work with.
Yeah.
And this board can approve that at the next meeting, and then you can take it before too, because you'll get a draft and take it to your people and say, okay, what say you? And
okay,
I would say that quickly so that we can, I mean, however long it takes, a couple of weeks, a month or something. If your board or people that own the company are like, hell no, we're waiting for the appeal to be decided, then we need to see that. That's all. That we need a response. So we're not just
Okay.
continuing on this one.
but two specifics, just as a teaser here. The one thing I've heard is the revenue flow, right? Are we just gonna, do you think the LOI is gonna be just based on that? It's gonna be a specifics on that, or is there others?
But yes,
Or is there other items too that have been, you
I
think?
can't think of any major thing. Can
The gave on record with my list. So there's no surprises. I also want to hear what you guys think.
okay, so this is.
And I think it could be an attachment to the existing agreement, just clarifying the relationship. But I think the revenue piece is probably the most material of it,
Okay,
because the rest I think is already done and already like course of dealing. We have an argument, and that's part of our argument, whether for the agenda or we're taking all the relationship as a whole. But I think you can meet in one place that OPA has knowledge of the business of the court, that through board meetings and one-on-one discussions, the commissioners can frequently do request information about the court business, customs, and security. That we visit the court, and we have better access to records, facilities, and so on. We need to clarify specifically the exclusive use that I pointed out that applies only to the competing contractors and only when the specific services and partner labeling and related warehousing. It does not exclude OPA in any way for its own facilities.
can you even, I can't write that fast.
I sent this to Tammy so she can like maybe bullet it out.
Okay,
She wants to state it anyway.
So I want you all to agree and disagree. Because we all have to agree. Okay, so if you think this is crazy, so the letter should state that the operator will confer first with OPA regarding new business. So especially if a proposed business might impact the local community or the overall mix of business at the port, or it might otherwise impact OPA's interest in fulfilling its oversight functions. So from an oversight function, I care about job creation, I care about benefits to the community, I care about nuisance, right? All that matters. So if you're gonna go into new business as a part, if you're engaging new business, if you want to move cranes, if you want to eliminate cranes, if you don't need them, I want to know in advance. And we need to agree on revenue share on the plan, because we want to make sure that the business plan is in the best interest of the public. And that's a little bit more. I will grant it's a little bit more than what the current operating agreement gives us. Right now, the current operating agreement says, you go develop a business. We really only have to say if it's something that's dangerous, it's a hazardous So it's not scheduled substance. When we did our comp plan, our forward thing, we put in there that we would work together and the operator, you all, your predecessor, agreed, sorry.
Kyle, Gucci,
No, not Margucci.
Kyle.
Bush said, you know, he would work with us, love you, Bush. That, he would work with us on any new business first, so we put that in the plan. But it's not actually like in the operating, I think that needs to be clear that you will confirm with us as new business days. But I see no, so that seems like that we all agree. Then I also have, that we're enter into agreements for revenue sharing for both for all new business or partner entity. And then, I would said we could solve both prior to engaging the business. Revenue now, that all proceeds derived from large assets, placed in the town of name. I think we're gonna have to work on that, with all the other financial pieces as to what that means. And then public records, just to confirm that business at the court. It told the business of the operating agreement is public business that is governed by public records. Yeah, I think that's already been operating agreement, we just wanna make sure that's rescinded. And finally, that we are the first point of contact with, the security and customers. I think I already said that one way, but to make sure that we were the first point of contact with the regulatory bodies. But then there's one more thing I want to ask about, and I know this is another ask. But is there any way that OPA could have this work? Because I think he physically had an administrative office there, even though OPA's or Rosanna's almost always really good. I don't, she doesn't really keep office hours, but just that that is OPA's office, I think goes a long way to say that this is our facilities, like, these are our administrative officers, so I know that's a new ask. Acknowledge that, I don't think you have any current obligation to offer us that, but it would also help us to, you know, not only have like a public face that we are engaged in the board, because if we care, we would have to, you know, show up there on occasion, that would be our headquarters, and for our mail will be received. I think that would help. So that's my list. Anything weird? No.
I think it's for the first list.
Is there anything we left out?
And you've done it quite well.
I mean, what do you think?
About that. I'm not sure.
We are continuing every day that we operate completely under this operating agreement. We run the risk of, say, you because of time. We are incurring taxes potentially. Now, maybe we win here, and all of this goes away. Maybe we don't. Right now, we're looking at $2 million. A year from now, 2+ years from now, we'll be looking at for the 3, for the 4. To see for the gap.
It is 12% interest, by the way. That's a special tax statute. I was thinking of the statutory interest for judgments. Oh, no, that's at like 8.44%. This is 12.
I think it's in everybody's. In my opinion, I think it's in everybody's best interest to take the judge's decision seriously. Take the property appraiser's statement, which we kind of do already. I also found it interesting that you put that in writing. You know, what his concern is, and we try to craft, you know, an agreement that in good faith, you know, that addresses those issues to avoid one more potential liability. Those are very good.
Yeah, it's just, I'll say, it is very curious to me that this tax appraiser on a few modifications would just wave goodbye to that sort of tax revenue. It just, but I don't know anything about local government. I've never been in local government. I don't know how it works, but
It is, but he, just like with the security, he got away with it for 15 years. Probably because nobody really looked, but then he looked. And he went, and now, as we move forward, he's gonna look again, in each of the intervening years, we go. They didn't modify the rate.
A change in 2018.
Well, and the prior operator was found at civil contempt. Okay, so you would need to watch the court proceedings, read the articles about what happened in 2022 to fully appreciate exactly what. And there was very little the open could do on a day-to-day basis because we didn't have municipal access.
Yeah.
And we didn't have access to the accounts. So when you have someone who is in your business, operating your business, and they are taking the money, how do you get them out? You have to file a lawsuit. And you know what he did? He filed 33 lawsuits against us. He made a series of public records requests that were expansive for like the entire, like, for all time. And he knew he overwhelmed the staff because he knew he had the staff. And then he filed 33 separate lawsuits in one day. And he hired a law firm of Jacksonville that was willing to do whatever he asked. And put anything in writing.
that was Rigucci.
It was, you'd have to research that time to fully understand why the property appraiser, I think, really didn't have much choice but to take so much of the true.
It is fault reason fires.
Okay.
It's still, but the union is still remaining. Renegotiating obviously the operating agreement. Obviously only fixes the problem going forward.
Right, I mean,
If we
You,
deal,
it's assumed it fixed, it's assumed that.
it's a problem, yeah. I mean,
well, I mean, as part of this, I'm for certain, as part of this, if we got to a place where we've negotiated some terms, I mean, at least I would be wanting to get with the property appraiser and say, look, I mean, yeah, or before we enter into
We're
that.
usually trying to address the issues that you had and press.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Has anyone had a conversation with the appraiser? Any commissioner?
I'd have to talk to their counsel, so.
We've not, because we didn't want to,
One going,
court order and convoluted. Talk about, something like.
There's nothing that stops you from talking to them at all.
Schedule right after Coast Guard.
The public's. I think it is surprising that that they'll ask for it, but if you read it, it says, he emphasizes the importance of the court for Nina, and he emphasized his support. So I think if you find that to be like overreaching the property appraiser, I think if you think it's an invitation for a better result next time around. I think he's opening a door, letting us know that he recognizes the port of Bernardino and he wants to encourage us to like take action. So I mean, I don't know clear it could be, but
Anything further?
So I assume that Commissioner Hill's list
Yes, We
will
will-
pass as,
we'll get it to you.
but that's the basis for all five commissioners. General. Is that,
Well, there's only gonna be one draft, the notice or letter.
no, I'm just kind of bookmarking
Yeah.
what I heard. Okay.
I mean, she just laid it out, but nobody's objecting to it.
Like to see it, like to look at it a little bit closer.
Okay.
But beat you up on funds and obligations and stuff like that, but I want to do whatever it takes in order to, ease the situation, get this resolved.
Okay.
I think a lot of us really try to establish the relation we have now thoroughly, minus the cash flow, the revenue, flow. I think that's it's a good start. It's, just look at the reports. We, you know, we keep hearing and Chairman keeps saying, we can't let this go any longer for all these different issues. We push things off. This is one of them. Tell her, you not to keep pushing off. Yeah, again, the golf race, was 2 years. So we have an opportunity to stay here for 2 years or do nothing, and or we can at least try to stop.
Yeah, and I just want to add one point, not related to this, just overall. I mean, call me. I think I commend Mayor Hill. She kind of, I was honestly kind of scared. Not of her, just like to talk to y'all one-on-one. It's a little intimidating, but I think it would be useful if we talk more. Because this is a public meeting, this is a quorum of commissioners, it's public, it's a little bit of pressure, but so I don't mind finding time to talk to each of y'all. At least once a month. I think that's fair. Because I'm in it now, I understand it, I understand the port, I understand the operating agreement, so.
I think that, the letter should come across in the tone.
Yeah, for
We're
sure.
not, I don't think we're trying to unilaterally impose anything on you all, we wanna work together, it's gotta make sense for both sides. And I appreciate you've been very candid. But you're always on the road, so we're like,
Every week I'm in my truck at least 8.5 hours, so. A minimum. So need to get that plane.
Any further questions, comments?
No, I'm gonna prepare a draft letter of intent that I'm gonna send to Ted, and that will be on next agenda.
Do we need to do one for? Oh, formal letter to you. Our resolution asking them to enter into negotiation.
Sure.
Because that seems to be, it seems to be the first step, if your masters say. No.
I mean, I think that's.
Y'all are my masters.
So letter,
Or could they
it's sort of two different avenues, okay? So I see it as different. The need to get into an operating agreement because of the litigation and ruling is one thing. And the option or opportunity for OPA to ask the operator to renegotiate. I see them as, so I get, I'm thinking out loud here. Should we reference section 1.2 as what's causing us to do this, or even prince it at all? I haven't seen that it protects any rights that we have.
No, section 1. And
Or that the operator has.
I mean, as long as you should go out to the operator, as long as both sides agree to enter into an agreement. Or to enter into negotiations to amend or even we're right to the operator agree, that's easy, but so I agree to that, then okay.
That we don't need to invoke this section.
But
So my recommendation then, so that we don't confuse the two, right, is this is moving fast. The next meeting, letter of intent. If I know that will tell us, I mean, if the masters, the owners of the company, just vehemently object to any of this. I mean, we need to know, we need to know if it's like a hard no, because otherwise we're just spinning our wheels.
Okay.
So that's leading up to our first meeting in February. It's my intention, and I think you gotta go back and talk about what we talked about here. And then you get something in the next few days, that says, here's a proposed letter of intent that says what we're going to work on. And if you come to the next meeting and I put this in front of the board and there's just silence on the operator, well, I've got to take these terms now that you've approved it back. It's putting us just back another 2 weeks. So I think you take that proposed letter of intent and assume this board is going to approve it. And then we're gonna be looking at updating language. So we need to know what you guys think. It doesn't sense for us to do all that work if we're gonna get a brick wall.
No, okay. Next meeting is on,
February 11th? That's all I have. That's my suggestion about section 1.2. We don't set it up, but it's still in play. It's 30 days from now, right? The last meeting in February, there's nothing. We're in vote in this section. That's what I would suggest.
You think, brother? Yes, ma'am.
So before you adjourn, Chair, may I bring up something?
Yes.
Very important. So the city chamber facility use, the city clerk got back to me and they will charge us $1,834 to use. And this is equivalent to 14 meetings starting in March through September 2026. So
So that effectively is 2 meetings.
14 meetings.
That's like,
That's not 2 meetings a month.
No, that's things you have to report, okay?
Oh,
oh, that's.
Sorry.
Fiscal year.
2 meetings a month, so it's what, it's $200 a meeting, basically.
Yeah, 131 per meeting.
Year.
$298.58.
We
A
don't
month.
pay with this. We pay street
Comes with the rent, yeah, $298 and
A month.
month.
Sorry. And the, we don't buy.
We had like an administrative office formed. Without, that, then we get board stabilities to develop companies.
And these are meeting date.
So just give me directions on what to tell the city clerk. Because it is on the February agenda for the city commission to approve.
I thought it was free.
So, yeah. So discussions. We asked about it, we asked about. You sit there. We got our sister agency over. This would be the cost for the. We discussed that and we wouldn't need, we're not gonna be there live streaming or all that stuff. And even in their drafts, document they sent over, I read it as. No rate.
No cost.
And then when, at that point. It's now like doing something with. Side, that's what we got to do. If there's.
So, no.
Let's.
and there's no office there for y'all in that whole building?
No. Have you been to City Hall?
It should be the BOCC because we're part of their government.
Yes, that's where it should be.
It-
Or an apartment.
Well, I mean,
We're just a county.
Wow, you just don't have no idea. No, they're good.
I mean, if you tell, as long as nobody's, if OPA wants to pass now on the city's offer or the terms, then you pass and you can always ask later.
Yeah,
okay, so I will inform her because I can't just leave it hanging.
yeah.
No, and they'll
figure
pull it off the agenda.
Okay,
So what was the final cost of the county? Because didn't they insource their security guard?
So. Yeah. They, at the time they were being a sheriff's deputy, data sets changed, so I can't. And it's true. So, but the cost, there was some other things within it.
I was looking forward to using less equipment, but. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rosanna.
That's where the negotiating is, yeah. The interagency agreement between the city of Farmington Beach and OPA as a 4-year review cycle. Which is to, 4 years is February. Of this year. Subsequent to that interagency agreement being approved by both parties, the city of Farmington Beach further giving voice to what with city input means, and and super majority required for OPA to enter into business and this do it this way. I believe we should ask them about expedited agreements where both parties don't agree to be negotiated for reasonable negotiation. But that seems to be a little bit training. Got it correctly, then state and the city government, no, I county government, longer to get it, or any other board or committee or elected entity that had a super majority oversight by a city related to the businesses that were mentioned. I certainly the zoning rules and regulations and all that goes into it. According to their resolution, which they passed in October of 2022, they require a supermajority of has any desire to enter into any sort of business arrangement with any part of it in the historic district.
And
Everybody aware of
we have a conflict, so because I've represented the city when that agreement was done, so. If you want legal counsel, then you could bring Patrick in and you don't object to handle that part of it.
Again, I think it's worth the ask. But I just reviewed documents. I read it before, but finally tied those two together. So that means if we have any notion in the future of potentially entering into any sort of public-private partnership with any business or organization that operates in historic district, before we do anything, we have to go to the city council and seek their supervisory blessing before we do anything.
Do we have enough budget for Patrick to give a couple hours to us for this effort?
No, take it pay that about $3,000 extra.
It's not a lot.
No, but I mean, something.
Shooting everything else they would.
But it's unlikely to change the revenue. Like,
No, no.
it's not gonna change the bottom line for OPA, it's just like, if we wanted to expand our footprint. Within the historic district, it would be restricted. And that was something that was negotiated at the time.
Well, we negotiated at the time, we changed some verbiage in the original to say with city approval as far as expansion into the historic. And then they came back on top of that 3 months after the fact, said, well, we define city approval as a super majority.
Oh, they passed a resolution, it isn't binding necessarily, so.
But that's this is the 4-year mark, so if we're gonna try to get that changed, now is the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they've been down the road with the city. Public is not on the side for expanding the historic districts. And I don't know that that changed. It would depend on the project, so that's the thing that the public was not against. Then you might be able to get your a supermajority through, which probably will sentiment on your side about the expansion. But at the time, the public sentiment was very much against Oakland's expanding the historic district, so it wasn't something that we could, kind of unilaterally impose. Although our charter does give us police powers and eminent domain. Yeah, and when you're paying, $30,000 a month in legal fees, and you have a budget of under $300,000 a year, you stop standing on your soapbox. That's how you do your restrictions pretty quickly.
All right.
Anything further?